Today's episode of This Week in Startups is brought to you by Citrix GoToMeeting. Meeting is believing. Visit gotomeeting.com and use the promo code TWiST to begin a free 30-day trial. And by Wistia. Take control of your video marketing with powerful tools and analytics built specifically for business. Go to wistia.com/twist to get your free Wistia account today. And by AWS Activate, the Amazon Web Services startup program. It's easy to start and scale your business with AWS. Visit aws.amazon.com/activate.
Hey everybody, it's Jason Calacanis. It's This Week in Startups, and today on the program we're going to talk about Apple's huge home run this week, iPhone 6, iPhone 6 Plus, the watch, and NFC payments. Huge week for them. Megan Smith is now the CTO of America, the United States. She's left Google. That's huge news. And Elon Musk picks Nevada over California and other locations for the Gigafactory. Way to go, California, dropping the ball again. Elon Musk takes the Gigafactory to Nevada, and much more this week on the News Roundtable. Stick with us.
That's what it's all about, man. They said money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah, money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah, we ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.
Hey everybody, welcome to This Week in Startups. I'm your host, Jason Calacanis. You can find me on the Twitter at Jason, and you can find the show at TWiST Startups on Twitter, on Instagram, probably not on Facebook. We don't spend too much time there. But yeah, we're doing clips on Instagram, and that's working out pretty well. And you know the show. We talk about startups. We do it twice a week. We do an interview with a founder on Tuesdays. And then on Fridays, especially now that I've moved up here to San Francisco, we do a news roundtable, and I get to bring in all kinds of interesting founders and journalists. And today is no different. Thanks to my friend Josh Williams for joining me on the program. When was the last time you were on the program?
We were saying like 3 or 4 years ago now.
It's been a little while. 3 or 4 years ago. What was the show like 3 or 4 years ago? You came to LA when
I remember it seemed like a smaller, darker room.
Yeah, it was.
And I remember like sitting in a tighter corner.
Somebody look up what episode number while we're on the show and put it on the show notes here. I'm just curious what episode number you were on. It was probably the first 10.
Definitely like first, 15, I think. I may have been in the teens, but
maybe
it was,
in the teens. It was very early. And of course, you were doing GoWalla.
That's right.
Which was, I guess, a competitor to Foursquare for people who don't know. And do people know that you did GoWalla, or do people even remember GoWalla? In your experience now, do you have to, when you say it, do their eyes light up?
Oddly, it still does. Like not a week passes that somebody's like, oh man, I really missed that, which is an interesting thing to debug at this stage.
It's got to be very interesting as a founder. You sold your company to Facebook, of course. I was an investor in GoWalla. I'm an investor in Newcomer. But what's that like when you sell your company and everybody still loves it, but it doesn't exist anymore?
Honestly, it's a bit brutal.
It's brutal, isn't it?
It is. It is. You feel like you still owe something a little bit to the world.
It's kind of like if you're David Byrne and like people love the Talking Heads and they're just like, when are the Talking Heads going back on tour? And you're just like, I'm doing art. I got something else. It's not my fault. Whatever. You know, it's sort of like a band broke up and you.
It is. And it's hard to recreate some of that. I don't think you can.
You can't. And I'll tell you, when I had when I had Silicon Valley Reporter, I was so identified with it until I had other products come out. And now nobody even knows what Silicon Valley Reporter is, right? Like, it's like very few people come up to me like, oh, Silicon Valley Reporter. But there was like a 2 or 3 year period of my life.
That's right.
Where that's all anybody could talk about. And it was some combination of depressing, melancholy, and frustrating for me as a founder. But now you're through it and you have the Last
Guide Company.
Last Guide Company is coming out.
That's right.
And, oh, by the way, show was in 98, 3 years ago. Wow. You were in the first 100, Signature 100 episodes 3 years ago. So I invested in the last company. You sold it to Facebook. But then we had an interesting discussion.
Yes.
When you sold it. Take people back to that moment.
So I actually remember I was, after we sold, I was going through calling up, investors to basically say, hey, this is the thing.
You were, by the way, the first company I invested in that got sold / went sideways under, whatever.
Really?
Yeah.
Of all of them?
You were one of my first 10 investments.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, and it was only like 10 or 25 grand. I don't
yeah, it was
small amount. But back then it was meaningful to me.
That's right. Well, I mean, it's a chunk of money. It's
whatever.
Yeah. So anyhow, it was one of those situations where, here's the deal, here's what happened. And like, frankly, all things equal, like we as a team, and I think as investors, you as well, would have loved to have kept going independently, grow this thing.
I love the product.
And it didn't happen. And so I think there's shared disappointment. You had some honest words for me about that. And then at the conclusion said, but hey, when the time comes, I'm in again, and
not only am I in again, but I had a specific condition for you. Remember,
you wanted to be the first in.
I did, because I believed in you so much. Like, I really felt like Gowalla was one of the most beautiful products ever created, and still to this day, so many people feel that way. Yeah, and so I was just like, my gosh, when you get out of Facebook, please let me be the first check. And sure enough,
and you were, which
I
again,
really was, right?
Yeah,
like
you actually legit, well, except for my own, which I threw in before you did, but but legitimately outside, you were the first.
And I said to you, I remember this because I said, I don't even want to know the idea. Because I just think you're like one of the best product people I've ever met. Like, and the design of Gowalla is so beautiful, and there's just so much authenticity in the product. And so I'm very much looking forward to what Last is.
We're excited.
And I actually, after this program, I'm going to actually see where you're at.
Yep.
Which would be fun.
Yeah, it'll be cool.
So just thanks again, just as an angel investor, thanks for letting me be on the ride again. I sort of think it's a two-way street when you're an investor and an entrepreneur, and I'm obviously an entrepreneur more than an investor. But it really needs to be buy-in from both sides that hey, we're both going on this journey together. It could fail, it could succeed, but most of all, we just want to feel good about what we did, right? I feel very proud of Gowalla and being an investor in Gowalla. I can say that to you with all sincerity.
Thank you.
I'm still very proud of the work we did there. And it's like you said, people come to you and just say how beautiful it was.
Well, now I'm okay.
Yeah. All right, don't get all upset.
Yeah,
but
okay.
I mean, it was like you had this extremely talented, young child who was going to be an Olympian.
Yeah.
And they died.
That's actually really a brutal way to look at it. But.
No, I'm kidding. Nothing. I mean, just so everybody knows, this is one of the great things about startups is like you hit the reset button, you put a quarter in the machine. It's not life and death. We're not like firefighters running into burning buildings. We can just start over. Put a quarter in the machine, start the game over.
Yeah.
Don't take it all so seriously, people. People get very depressed about their startups closing. Did you hit depression afterwards?
I think it was that particular year was really difficult, and it wasn't just for me. It was for my team, and I think for my family. I'm not you probably know me. I'm not I'm not a depressed type person.
No, not at all.
But it was really difficult, and I look back on that particular year and think, damn, that was just.
How did you get through it?
It was rough.
How did you get through it? When you look back on that, because you have distance. We can have this conversation now. I wouldn't have had this conversation with you 2 years ago, but now you have distance.
Yeah, some of it was just distance. There was I went through the 6 months immediately after, and of course we're kind of running and landing at Facebook during a really interesting time for them as well. So you don't have a lot of you don't even have time to think about because I've got a job to do now.
Right.
But my family was, I think, actually even the move coming out here to California and my family from Austin, and just having a moment to exhale. And we were at it for 4 years before that happened. So, you kind of have that this is a thing. It was rough. It didn't end, how we had, exactly hoped. But we can learn from it. And at some point, we'll reload and go at it again.
Yeah. And that moment is now. Fist bump. All right. And also on the program is Eric Newcomer, and he is a newcomer to the program. You're at the information. Welcome to the program for the first time.
Thank you for having me.
Now, in truth, I got to tell the audience, you're pinch hitting for Amir.
That's fair.
Who is a very seasoned journalist. You look like a young kid over here. How old are you, Eric?
I'm 25.
You're 25.
Just turned 25.
Literally just turned 25.
Yes.
And so you're pinch hitting here. I like that.
Thank you.
This is like a big deal for you, isn't it?
It's exciting. I am excited. This is, I think, got to be my first set ever. Maybe.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm a decade older than him, which makes me feel like...
You know what this is like? This is like you're the Jeremy Lin of This Week in Startups.
That's right.
It's like the point, like Carmelo Anthony's injured, the point guard's out, and then this is your chance to become a national phenomenon.
So you're going to drop 42.
Do not fuck it up, Eric. Okay?
Thank you.
Now, what is the story? You were a journalist before the information somewhere?
Yeah, so I graduated from Harvard in 2012, and then I'd been a DC City Hall reporter for a while, and then sort of Jessica sort of pulled me over to this, and I was...
Very cool. Where, at the Wall Street Journal? No. Where were you doing?
No, I was at the Washington Examiner, so I was sort of like the scrappy upstart, going to DC City Hall every day.
And now you're out here.
Yeah, I was the first employee, joined in July. We launched in December. And covering startups, venture capital, and like a little bit of Facebook.
Awesome. I like it. Very nice. All right. Well, welcome to the program. We're going to see how you do in the chat room. Don't be too hard on them in the chat room. All right. Listen, there was huge news this week. And of course, the biggest one is the Apple event. We saw a couple of major things, and we'll just go through them one by one. But actually, another way to do this is to pick which one you thought was the major announcement. Actually, let's play that one. So we have Apple Pay, iPhone 6, and a watch. Josh, which one of these is going to be the most important announcement 5 years from now?
Oh, man. 5 years from now.
5 years from now. So we're sitting here 5 years from now, and we look back on this. What do we remember from that keynote and say that was the most critically important release of the keynote?
If it's executed well, Apple Pay might actually be the one that we look back on 5 years from now. And,
why?
And say, just because it's one of those things that I think everybody's looking for a better way for this, for the transactions to work, whether it's in the real world or whatever. And I think if you're looking at Apple or anybody, Amazon, Google, who like has your credit card number, stored in some capacity, you're wondering how are they going to make better use of this? And this is Apple's first shot. Now, the caveat is that past efforts of let's say software and services at Apple have mixed track records.
So you're referring to Mobile Me, which was a disaster. Ping was their social network, was a disaster.
Correct.
I mean, just every time they do services, they seem to hit the wall. However, iCloud seems to be a little bit better.
Which is effectively Mobile Me too. So they learned and they iterated. So I think that's the big question here is if they can iterate and move on this, it could become what takes mobile payments to the masses, at least in the Western Hemisphere.
Yeah, and that's a very interesting point because the subtext of what you're saying, Josh. And by the way, you can follow Josh at JW on Twitter. He's in the 2-letter club. This is something that you, I, and many others have used or seen used NFC payments in Japan.
That's right.
And in Korea, where it's pretty regular to see somebody take out their mobile phone, even before smartphones, I believe, just like calling phones, flip phones, had the ability to come up to the counter and just tap a little base station and pay the bill. Why did it take so long?
Infrastructure, I think, is part of it. So when you look at a country like South Korea or Japan, everything is actually dense. Everything is very dense. And so the cost of putting up the network or all the pieces to facilitate that is less than, say, the United States, where you're like, oh man, someone's got to run the cable out to Wyoming now.
Got it.
And I think that's part of it.
Interesting.
I'm not an expert here, but that's.
I agree with that. Yeah, they have the density of broadband, mobile broadband specifically, and they seem to adopt stuff on a national level. We live in San Francisco, so we are a little bit sort of perverse in our view of how quickly things get adopted. But in Tokyo or in Seoul, my goodness, and across those two countries, things get adopted really quick. Okay, so Eric, newcomer to the show, and newcomer, what do you think 5 years from now will be the most important part of the announcement?
Yeah, I think 5 years is key. I think that payments is exciting now. I think right now I can see that's exciting. But I think Apple trying to figure out how we're going to sort of engage with electronics sort of in our daily lives, the watch.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if the watch is going to be the answer, but just the idea that the hardware company, the company that's supposed to do it right, is sort of starting the domino effect to figure out, okay, how do we not drive everyone crazy and ping them all the time? We're going to send these little haptic touches. I think that's going to change most people's lives more than they're going to look back and say, oh man, I used to use a plastic credit card. Yeah. Now I just use my phone. That was such a big hassle.
Well, explain to the audience what haptic means, because not everybody knows that.
Right. I barely know. My sense is it's just sort of a light sort of touch, just sort of communicates so that nobody else. Yeah. I'm not sort of publicly distracted. It's not buzzing on the table.
Yeah. So haptic is a way to look at it is what happens when you're holding the Xbox controller. It shakes a little bit, and if you get your ass handed to you, it shakes a little bit more.
Right.
So I guess the insinuation with the watch is, hey, it's going to vibrate a little bit if it's, an email. And if it's from my wife or spouse or child, maybe I'll get a specific pattern that I could set.
Right.
Like Morse code for my wife and for London, my daughter, whatever, which is super fascinating. And I do agree that this domino effect is starting. And it feels like this is maybe 25% better than the previous entries like Pebble and Samsung's watch. When we get back from the commercial break, I want to talk about the larger phone sizes and which phone you're going to buy, Josh, and what you think of the watch when we return from this commercial break. And when I say return from this commercial break, I mean I'm going to read it. And this is the easiest ad read in the world for me. And this is why the ads are sold out. By the way, somebody was saying something very nice on the Twitter about my ad reads, how funny they were. And I stole the whole bit from Howard Stern. But the truth is, the reason the ads are really good, and even probably better than Howard's, is I pick the advertisers. We don't allow e-cigarette companies or other companies that we don't use on the program. So one of the products I use every day is GoToMeeting, and that's by Citrix, And they write some copy for me here, but the truth is, since I use it every day, I know the product better than the copy they write. I can tell you the use cases. The reason I use GoToMeeting is because I always get a very high-speed, perfect connection, and I literally had 5 or 6 people on video, and it was perfect, flawless, because they're using their own dedicated network to do GoToMeeting, and I have all my meetings scheduled in there perfectly. So it's not like I'm going to fire up a meeting and then it's chaos of people trying to get into the meeting. These meetings are set up weeks in advance and my entire schedule is synced into GoToMeeting. When I am at a cafe or the Battery or home, I can just click a button and boom, I'm on the call. Nobody shows up late. That's the most important thing. And you never have any of these. It's hard enough to run a conference call. When you have technical issues, it becomes a huge distraction and then everybody gets pissed off and nothing gets done. And we do them on the fly as well. A lot of times you can just send people the little code and a link and it works. We use it also between offices in the same building because sometimes we want to loop somebody in. And that's a use that I didn't think anybody could even think of. It works on all your mobile devices, obviously. And it's I probably do conservatively 6 or 7 meetings a week on GoToMeeting, and that's all you need to do. And if you're an entrepreneur, if you start a meeting, how many times have you been on a meeting with an investor and it started slow or there was some technical problem?
A lot.
That's what. And how does it make everybody feel? It's just incredibly frustrating.
It's awkward.
It's awkward.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's not working. Well, let me tell you something. GoToMeeting works. Meeting is believing. Use the promo code TWiST for a free 30-day trial. Go to GoToMeeting.com. Use the promo code TWiST. They try a free button on the GoToMeeting.com. They're just an amazing, amazing product. Go ahead and say thank you. And I highly recommend it. I can't say it enough. I've been using the product for years. I actually pay for, I think, 3 different accounts, and I could use one. And the reason I pay for 3 is because I want to have everybody's meetings separate, and I want to encourage more usage of it. But anyway, enough with the GoToMeeting. It's amazing. That's all you need to know. Okay, so when we left our heroes, we were talking about the iPhone 6 coming out and the watch. I have a feeling you want to talk about the watch too, Josh. So is the watch in the 1.0 version of Apple going to be great, good? What's your expectation?
I think it'll be good. We had this discussion the other day about the original iPhone and how when it came out, if you recall, Apple had I believe an $800 price tag on it. It was something ridiculous. And then within a few weeks, there was kind of this revolt, and they came back and were like, actually, no, we're going to subsidize this, and we're going to drop the price by $200 or whatever it was, and we'll refund. There's a weird moment of this thing is cool, but we recalibrated. Yeah, and they recalibrated. I think they'll avoid the recalibration, but I think the nature of the product and the generation level will be about the same. And that it's going to be cool, but the version 2, whatever comes out a year later, is the one that's going to start to have the finesse in it.
So if you're in the technology business or a fan of Apple, sure, get it now. Anybody who's a civilian, maybe next Christmas.
I think the timing you're right on that, just because they had a window to hit this holiday cycle and they missed that. Right. And so
what does that tell you?
It seems like it was misplayed. Maybe not misplayed, but they were hoping probably to have it now, and it's just not. And so my wife is already like, "Hey, Mother's Day." Perfect, yeah. Which I think that's probably the next window they'll be aiming for is kind of that Mother's Day, Father's Day.
What did you think of the dial? What do they call it? The crown. The crown. So they're using this seemed to be something they were crowing about, Johnny Ive in the video.
Yes.
Importantly, this is a really funny video. Importantly, the crown, we use the crown because you're not pinching and zooming, which blocks the obscurifies, I was like, wow, this guy's got a lot of $12 words here. But without obscurifying, you use the crown. What did you think of that? The crown as a device and the obscurification on a UX basis being a killer important issue. You buy that?
I do buy the issue in terms of like you don't want your fingers, on a tiny, tiny screen. It's going to be difficult. So I'll give them that. Whether the crown is the solution, I haven't used it, so we'll find out.
That's the one I'm most fascinated about. Is does the crown actually work as a device? And I think it was very weird because when Kevin, formerly of Adobe, was doing the spinning of the thing, did you notice it was on a pedestal, not on his wrist?
Yes.
You noticed that, right?
I did notice that, and it was it was a long, like he really.
It was awkward.
It was awkward.
Because if it's on your wrist, you're going to be like running into the back of your wrist with it. I'm going to be grinding my wrist. It felt awkward. And I don't know if I had the clearance on my wrist to actually spin.
If you look at it, I think maybe it does, but that also would indicate that it's a fairly thick face on it as well.
Yes.
So
and battery life might be an issue. All right, Eric, what do you think of the crown and the obscurification and the UX and maybe that first little app they showed, which was like draw like a heartbeat or whatever? What did you think of all that sort of UX finesse and polish they put on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the heartbeat stuff, the smiley face, I think people will like that. I mean, people laughed at sort of Snapchat in the beginning, but at the end of the day, people want sort of simple ways to communicate. I agree. I'm sort of skeptical about the crown. I mean, first of all, they didn't really let reporters sort of play with the watch to the same degree they let people play with the phone. It does seem like it's not sort of totally there. They're being sort of iffy on the battery life still.
Right. The battery life. What do you expect the battery life to be? A day?
It has to be a day, right? If you can't wear it all day.
It'll be a functional day. What gets you from 8 a.m.
Waking up to getting home.
That's what it'll
waking
be.
up to a work day.
A work day.
See, I agree with that. And then what do we think of the battery? The charging. Now we have yet another charge. Why wasn't it a lightning cable? I don't understand.
Well, I think the lightning
waterproof. Oh, sorry. If you have a plug, it's probably harder to sort of wash your hands with it.
That's a great look at Eric. Very good, Eric. Exceeding it. I didn't even think of that, Eric. If you had a lightning connection, it's a hole, which means stuff can fall in it. Which means when you wash your hands, water can splash into it. So the inductive charger.
Now watch some Apple person be like, he's crazy.
My understanding is that there's actually a lightning cable that goes into the inductive charger, so they're still using that. Now, the cool thing,
so it's that little it's a little circle.
That's my understanding from some other people. Now follow along here because there's an interesting thing. If you're like one of these people who are into rollies and you have like your rotating Rolex machine, I can imagine like Kickstarter having like the inductive Apple Watch like rotating thing. This is going to happen. Watch.
Here's what I think was a little bit. So first of all, the watch is 20 to 30% better than the Samsung watch. The Samsung 2.0 people love. The 1.0 was terrible. So the watch, I think, is within 18 months of being a mass consumer device. So I think Apple is really timing it so that the battery life is good enough that people will not be wildly frustrated like they were with Google Glass and like they were with the Samsung 1.0 watch. And the battery life on the 2.0 is still a problem. But the 2.0, I don't know, have you met people with the 2.0 who like it? So have you met anybody with the Samsung? So there's people with the Samsung 2.0, I'm telling you, especially the people who do the Note. So do you have any friends who have the Note and can't shut up about it?
Are we talking about Peter Pham?
Well, yeah, definitely. Peter Pham's the most annoying person on the planet when it comes to the Note. But there's other people like Adeo from Founders Institute who's super annoying about it. But have you noticed this with the Note? People have to tell you how great the stylus is.
I've heard, people talk about that.
Now, people from Harvard don't fuck with Android devices.
The Crimson did a poll, and it's like all iPhone. It's ridiculous. It's terrible.
It is all, These Harvard people are just like, Android, no.
I mean, I'm on the 4S
like Android,
now, so.
That's for poor people. I'm from Harvard.
Hey, I'm on the 4S. I've been waiting,
Are you really on a 4S?
It's terrible. And I
what are they paying you at the information? Is this like some...
I'm fine, but it's just...
Hold on a second, Jessica. You can't have your reporters pulling out a one-generational phone. This is a message to Jessica and everybody at the information. Give everybody $500 gift cards to get an iPhone 6 so you don't embarrass. This guy's got to come to a meeting with important people. Jesus, sweet Jesus. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, here's the thing on the phone, on the watch. I'll just to give you my view on it. They are going to hit the ball out of the park with this, I think, because there's a small subset of things that are very compelling to do. And I think they did them well. So the heart rate monitor, which is only available on the Basis watch, which I'm holding in my hand here, and we had Basis on the episode, is so compelling when you see your perspiration, your heart rate, and everything like 24 hours a day. And then to have the SMS messages and the phone controls and the quick responses, all that stuff's going to be delightful, let alone when Uber says your car is showing up and you can see the little mini map. All these apps are going, because, app developers always start with iOS, especially the really good design ones. So you're going to just see so many amazing use cases that Samsung couldn't get the developers to do.
Right.
And if you get 3 or 4 killer use cases, I think the Uber arriving is going to be one of them that's going to make people jelly. That's what the kids call jealous today, jelly.
That's what I hear.
You
That's
got young
correct.
girls, right?
Yeah.
So people are going to be so jelly when they see the heart rate stuff and all this that they're going to want it. $349, it can't cost more than $100 to produce the watch, which means they're going to be printing money with this thing. What do you think the price point will be when they get to a gold one or a Louis Vuitton
I'm totally stoked.
or a Gucci or an Ashton Kutcher watch? I mean, they could do any number of things with the licensing of the bands, the same way official lightning cables and cases
That's right.
and stuff in the store. They're going to need a whole section in the store for Michael Kors and other people. The bands, what do we think the bands are going to go for, Josh? Any idea what they could charge for a band? What do you think P. Diddy's paying for a band?
They charge $29 for a silicone case. And so when you talk about like an actual Michael Kors designed like gold band, I mean, so those watches in and of themselves are running $250 to $500, and then you tack that on top of the base price of. So I think you're going to see watches that are running in the $800 to $1,000 range.
Yes, and then I think there will be multi-$1,000 ones if you can remove the face and put new guts into it. So Eric, what do you think the chances are? Because you can have your battery replaced in your phone at the Genius Bar. I think it takes a little while. What do you think the chances are you'll be able to take your diamond encrusted gold Michael Kors watch face, because obviously the bands can come off, but if the face can come off and you can replace the memory, the innards, will they do that and let you replace the innards for $250 every 2 years?
They've got to, right? I mean, it'd be crazy if you couldn't. I mean, you think they're going to force sort of updates? Is that sort of, or
I just think you have to let people, if they spend thousands of dollars on a faceplate, what are you supposed to do? Take it off and melt it down?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be able to replace the screen and the innards.
And I mean, the watch right now, it seems like it's sort of very easy to change bands.
The bands are super
Flexibility's got to be sort of a major part.
I think this is going to be a money printing machine because even if it sells the same as the iPad, the margin is going to be so absurd. What is the margin on jewelry? On a per square foot basis, Apple's stores are one of the most efficient. The only people who are more efficient, Tiffany. So Tiffany on a per square foot basis does better than Apple, I understand. I don't know if that's changed yet. But oh my God, like that would be incredible if they can sell, a Michael Kors band that makes them $800 and costs $300.
One thing I wonder with sort of all the variety of bands is the great thing about Apple was always, it's aspirational, but I can get the exact one that that celebrity that I'm worshiping has. And now I'm going to see a watch that's like, it's gold. I'm not a gold person. I'm never going to have that. Do I really identify with the watch in the same way? Does it really symbolize my wealth if I'm having sort of watch sports? I don't know. I think
as one person told me, I don't wear an expensive watch. I wear expensive watches to let you know how much more money I have than you. I was like, wow, that's brutally honest. It's like somebody with a $100,000 watch. Anyway, when we get back from commercial break, let's talk about the iPhone 6 and the sizes and do the Bing launch of the week. Hey, Wistia is amazing. I use Wistia. And the way, any of you guys know about Wistia? Do you know about Wistia?
No, tell me.
So let me tell you about Wistia, okay? Thank you for that. So Wistia is, if you want to have your own MailChimp of video, just elegantly designed, easy to use, software as a service, enterprise, SaaS, video, they will do it for you at a great price. And we use it here because we didn't want to have all of our videos with the detritus. Is that the right word, detritus? What is that?
Detritus.
Explain.
You went to Harvard.
You went to Harvard.
This is not fair. I'm just getting quizzed.
I know. I love it, right? Get a Harvard guy in here. You can needle him. Listen. And Wistia is great. 50,000 customers, MailChimp, Moz, Blank Label Twist. You don't have all that like branding of somebody else's player and then sending you to other videos of Gangnam Style and other nonsense. I want to send them to more videos from This Week in Startups. I want to put messages for my sponsors in my videos. I want to collect emails in my video. I want to have 100% control over it. And you know what? You can embed it in other places just like you can with YouTube or Vimeo. But this is 100% branded for you. And that's important when you have a business-to-business product or like let's say you're an attorney or you're doing videos videos for your explainer. You want control of that, and you want really granular, amazing analytics, which they have as well. It's super affordable. It's amazing to use. It's easy. My team uses it all the time. And we're actually using it for now our sponsors and partners to put their videos in for all the conferences, et cetera. It works brilliantly. And they were on the program. Really great company. Go ahead and try Wistia, and you will let me see here. I might have some kind of free offer here. I got to find page 5 in my notes. Here we go. Why Wistia? Here we go. Wistia.com/twist. No credit card required. First 3 videos free. First 3 videos are free at Wistia.com/twist. It's a great product. You'll love it. And thank Wistia for supporting independent media like This Week in Startups. Thanks to my friends over there for making a great product. All right, let's do iPhone 6. Which one are you getting? 6 or 6 Plus? Josh?
I'm getting the 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Eric, 6 or 6 Plus?
I'm going to go 6 Plus. My plan is like 6 Plus now, watch second generation like you're saying.
That's a 6 Plus.
This is a 6 Plus.
That seems reasonable.
Here we go. Oh, I don't have my over-the-shoulder camera today. Where's my over-the-shoulder? Oh, we didn't do it. Okay, anyway, here you go. Maybe this camera? Is that good? Yeah, so here you go.
Yeah.
6. Oh, where's my phone? There it is. There's my 5. That's a lot more screen.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the hand feel. It feels like that's the right size to me.
So that's the 6 Plus. We printed that out yesterday and stapled it to some coasters to give it some bulk.
Yeah.
And I tried to put it in my back pocket mainly to see, okay, how
easy.
No.
Are you wearing the French jeans or something like that? The hipster French jeans?
They're Ralph Lauren. It's American. Don't worry. But it's no.
You sure Ralph Lauren's? That sounds like a French comedy to me.
Oh my gosh.
Are you sure Ralph Lauren is?
He's as American as it comes, man.
I'm joking.
So, but no, like I kid you not, an inch of this was sticking out of my back pocket, a full on inch. So, like you make the same walk to the office that I do every day. It's
popping out. Somebody's pull it out.
Yeah. So I was like, I really want something.
Be careful on Church Street, man. They would just pull that right out of your pocket.
Yeah, that's 100 walks.
So it didn't pass the gene test.
It didn't pass the gene test.
But the 6 is bigger than the 5.
It is. It's substantially bigger still.
So you won't be able to get an iPhone 5 size phone anymore.
That's correct.
You have to get a bigger screen. So if you are in love,
the old generations. I mean,
for how long? So there should really be. What they're saying is the iPhone 5 size, that footprint is over forever.
Mm-hmm. It's on its way out. Yes.
Which is kind of weird because Steve Jobs loved this size. Mm-hmm. He liked the narrowness of it. So if you want a narrow phone now, you're SOL.
So this actually brings us back to the watch because one of the things about the small phone size is that it was discreet, which is actually why I got the 6, not the 6 Plus, because I still want something smaller. But if you can replace the discreteness with, say, a watch, does that imply that now you can just pair it with larger devices that you can like stash in a jacket pocket?
Yeah, like an iPad mini or – see, I know a lot of people who their iPad mini is becoming their primary device because I do I have like real American jeans. Like I get Lee jeans or Levi's, you understand, Josh? I put the iPad mini in my back pocket. That's a real American manly jean. You can put the iPad mini in the back pocket. You can't fit the iPad mini in your back pocket.
No, I wouldn't try.
But it is interesting how the pocket size is the thing, but it's much thinner.
It is.
The new one. Here's a question for you, Eric. If you could have the iPhone 6 or 6 Plus with the same chipset, the A7 and the M8. But the M8's the new one, so I guess M7 is the last one. Did they put the numbers of the M's in the same line?
I think the M8 is still the same.
The same. This is the same. Okay, so anyway, if you could have last generation, I'll open this to both of you. If you could have last generation's chips and last generation screen size, but have all the extra battery and get 2 more hours of battery life, which would you choose? So iPhone 6 with the same chips as iPhone 5. Which means it draws less power. Therefore, you get 20% more battery life. Extra 2 hours of battery life.
I want new chips. I want the new chips.
You want the new chips. Okay. Yeah. What about you, Josh? Would you go more battery life or new chips?
I think I go with the new chips as well. Yeah.
We're all power.
Again, like battery is one of those, like, does it get you to the end of the day? It's a practicality,
right?
You know.
Yeah. So
we learned to code.
One of the things I want to know is how much memory I'm supposed to buy. Like I want the
big one.
I want Drew Houston to come out and be like, Dropbox is going to solve all your problems.
You got to go 128.
No, just so I can have.
You don't have kids, but as soon as you have kids and you're taking photos of your kids, you just fill that thing up.
It fills up like a ridiculous.
But I have Spotify. They store most of my stuff in the cloud.
You can't download enough music unless you were using like really HD music or Pono music. It really comes down to video. Actually, pictures actually you don't run out of, but when you have kids and you start doing, because you know what, they don't let you downsize the video quality on the phone. on an Android phone, you'd be like, you know what, I'm going to set my videos to 480 and shoot twice as many videos. On iOS, Steve Jobs, I guess his position was,
it will all be beautiful.
It's all going to be beautiful. I don't want you taking ugly shit on my phone or in my ecosystem. You're taking the best resolution, which also leads to why didn't they go to like a higher resolution 4K or other video yet? When is that going to happen?
So here's the funny thing about like this screen here. We put it on the largest monitor that Apple makes available, the Cinema display.
Yeah.
We're developing for this.
Yeah.
And this is larger at an actual pixel size than the Cinema display is. So you cannot actually develop at 1x for this device.
That's
on
ridiculous.
Apple devices.
Well, where is the 4K monitor then?
No, I mean,
that had to come out.
We actually had the discussion yesterday of like, geez, are we gonna have to go out and buy an LG monitor to like
or the Acer is like $600 for and that's what is it, 3880 or something? It's some crazy amazing resolution.
So they can't keep this up for long. We've got to have new displays sometime.
When are they going to come out? Because see, this is the thing I was thinking, that we would get the 4K display and it would have Apple TV built in, which is i.e. the Apple TV.
Yes.
But they launched the Mac Pro, the new cylindrical tower. Mm-hmm. Do you have one of those yet?
No.
You're waiting a little bit? I'm thinking about getting one.
I can't
justify
myself
it. It's like $3,000 or whatever, $4,000. Like if you're on your Angel round, you can't. But when you get the A round, we're definitely getting those for everybody.
All right. Sure.
I'm definitely going to approve that as an Angel, so you can get those. But what I heard is it makes developers 20% more efficient, or 15-20% more efficient to have a 4K monitor. So a lot of developer shops are going to 4K monitors because you can keep like multiple windows open for coding. It's supposed to be amazing, but on a Windows machine, it's easy to do. When are they going to come out with a 4K monitor, do you think? Any idea?
I have no idea. That production
crazy.
cycle is totally unknown to me.
The existing ones have been out forever too. Like it's been a while since there's been a monitor refresh for Apple.
It's unbelievable, and they took so long with the Mac Pro that so many people were complaining in the video community that Tim Cook like replied to a tweet like "sit tight," and then they came out with the Mac Pro, which I think started shipping this summer. Mm-hmm. But that's just bizarre. All right, let's go. So anyway, on a when was the last time Apple had a keynote that was this impactful, do you think, Josh? If you look back on the keynotes, when do you think the last one was as impactful as this? If you put it in the history of keynotes for Apple and announcements, what's the parallel here?
I don't know that it was as impactful as the original iPhone, but certainly like iPad level. Like if you go back to our even iPad 2, there was some in there that was like, this is finally this is a real thing, and Apple's about more than just computers and phones. I think now we're seeing like Apple is now like it's a fashion company. It's more than a technology company, which makes some people uncomfortable. Yeah. But I think it's also
you're referring in a way to the Beats by Dre acquisition, which means we're going to be accessories.
We're a lot more than just Macs now, and
a lot more.
I think that's kind of cool, but again, I think it also makes.
Where does it end? Are they going to do an appliance? Would they ever do an espresso machine? Would they ever do a car?
I don't think they would do an espresso machine, but a car. I mean, I wouldn't put it out of their realm. Again, they've had a hard enough time doing a television, but eventually I think we see that. So there's a question of, where does it end?
What do you think, Eric? Where does this stand in the history of keynotes, and where do you think it ends for Apple?
I definitely think the watch is more important than the iPad announcement. I mean, I think
you do. Okay.
Yeah. Because
why?
We had big screen. We had computers. We had the phone. We understood sort of how the interface worked. This was bigger.
Yeah.
I don't think it was that. I don't think the iPad was revolutionary. I don't think we look back and say, oh my God. I think a device that's on us all the time at some point sort of is everything. I mean, people are working on sort of computing without a screen, computing to send us sort of messages without sort of the dependence on the screen. And I think the movement sort of that, where I'm not looking at the watch all the time, is sort of way more important.
Are you wearing a watch right now?
No. But
I took it off for the show.
Okay, you took it off. Okay.
Yeah. But I don't wear a watch for I think here's the other thing. The reason this debate is so hard for people is because they're using the word watch. What this really is a wrist computer. And if you say wrist computer, or wearable computer, or wearable phone, or a mini phone, whatever you want to call it, it's a wrist computer. And if you look at it as a wrist computer, like this is not a phone. This is I'm holding up my iPhone. This is a computer it's a small computer. It's going to be a small computer on your wrist. If it becomes independent of the phone, which it can't do yet because the 4G chipset is not small enough and drains so much power that it would drain the battery in 2 hours. But when they get that right, that the watch is a choice, I can go running without my phone, or I can go to the coffee. I can go get coffee with my kid and my dogs for an hour with my watch and not need my phone, and be able to get my email, and be able to call my spouse, and be able to check the weather, and be able to deal with anything. That is going to be when this watch becomes a competitor to the phone. Right. It could be disruptive to the phone in the way the phone, the iPhone, the smartphone, was disruptive to actual computers. Like desktop computers are not necessary when you have a phone. There's so many times you see people go on vacation now without their laptops. Yeah. That was unheard of for business people, right? Mm-hmm. And many people go on trips. I don't know if you've done this, but if you're going on a single day trip or an overnight, an iPad mini, a phone, or a note, like people go
get it done.
You can get it done on a note. The software is getting sophisticated enough. Yeah. And with this big phone, the iPhone 6 Plus, you would definitely be able to go away and respond to email and not need your laptop.
That's right.
What about the watch? Would that happen, Josh? Could the watch be good enough? Did the software get good enough? Dictation?
I was going to say dictation becomes the question because you can't input obviously on a watch. So I think the voice dictation will have to reach a level of practicality that people are comfortable talking to it and not feel like I'm speaking to a computer.
Yeah.
But once you get over that, I think it's I think you're there.
What do you think? Watch independent computing, computer on your wrist. You're able to. What year will you be able, Eric, to go away on an overnight business trip with only the watch? What year? We like to make predictions on the show. We like to put the screws to people. It's 2014, Eric.
I think it's got to be. So I can do my job like I could write a story on my phone. Is that sort of the standard?
you could file.
I think
you're going overnight. You're going to meet some like famous angel investor who's the #1 angel in the world. He's invested in 200 companies, including Uber and Last Guide. So you're going to go meet that guy.
I think it's got to be like
at his house in Aspen,
2017 or something like that.
So 3 years out. When do you think?
Because I mean,
how many years out?
Just to compare it to like the iPhone.
Yeah.
It took a couple years for once app developers are really taking a swing at it.
Right.
Then
the fact that Evernote has done such a good job at note-taking makes it easier for you to go away and file. Or Mailbox was another example, or Dropbox, right? If you look at those productivity suite, and combined with Siri, I have been walking and driving around San Francisco now, and I get car sick, and I have been dictating text and dictating portions of emails that I'm going to write into Evernote. Through Siri.
Right, that's right. Right.
And sometimes I'll just ramble off an MP3 file to Evernote of something I'm thinking about, like science fiction kind of stuff. Like, oh my God, here's what I think is a good choice.
Yeah.
It's almost there, isn't it?
No, I think it is there.
You think it is?
Well,
you trust it?
I think if you wanted to make the choice and say, I'm going to do this, like say as an experiment, I'm going to take the next month and I'm going to, especially say you're key thing like writing, you're not having to design things or whatever. I don't think you can write code yet.
No.
But if you're just talking like a written word, and you made the choice, I think you would find a month from now that actually you found tools and flows that get it done in a manner that you wouldn't necessarily have to go back.
So what year for the phone? What year for the watch to hit what the phone has hit in year 5? Because how many years are we into? 5, 6 years? So we're 5 or 6 years into the smartphone. If you count the Trio, 7 or 8. So anyway, let's say we're 8 years into it, whatever. How many years till the watch gets there? This is year 2 of the watch. Maybe year 3 of the watch if you count Samsung and Pebble's efforts. 5 more years? 3 more years? 2 more years? You say 3 more years, Eric. What did Josh say?
For the watch, I think we're still going to be 5 years out.
Okay, 5, 3. I'm going to go 2.
Okay.
You know why I'm going to go 2? I think there is going to be some advance that they're going to make with this LTE chips.
I think that's where.
And that's the key, because the battery life is going to be almost there, and you can carry an extra spare battery with you to charge the watch back up. So I think that'll become what people do. They'll just keep one of those little free battery packs they're giving away. Like now it's like you walk down the street and like people are giving away battery packs, like extra battery packs, like it's a MASH unit, Yeah.
And we could get real wireless charging. I mean, for a short moment, we thought
inductive
the watch
charging
would have something beyond just the inductive touching charging.
Lay it down on the pad.
Lay it down, just like I'm at my desk.
What's up with that? The Nokia Lumia had it. The Lumias, I'm pronouncing that correct? The beautiful Lumias had the stands where you just rested. My toothbrush has that. Right. Why the F doesn't Apple have it?
The Palm had a phone like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
What's going on at Apple that they can't get this working? Are they just trying to sell lightning cables or something? What's the story?
I mean, wireless charging is also somewhat inefficient. So if I'm Apple,
who cares?
Well, it's not very environmentally friendly to have.
Who cares? Plugging in a phone is taking 16 seconds of my life every day.
It's terrible.
I don't care about the environment. This 16 seconds each time to find the goddamn cable. No, I
think once we get to the table,
it's like 15. It's only 15% inefficient, Eric. Right? 20%. I think is the number.
I have no number.
The great thing about it, like the inductive stuff, is eventually you can show up in a hotel room and not have like 16 cables, coming out of the nightstand.
Right.
That's the reason Apple's not doing it. By the way, they're making so much money hand over fist.
$29 a piece, man.
How do they charge that amount? It is unbelievable. And did you ever notice this now? You plug in one of the Amazon basic cables and your iPhone starts whining?
Yeah, it does. I was going to say, you buy the $19
like, I don't know if I like this cable. This may not be supported.
Yep.
What is that about?
You're paying to call it a lightning charger. It sounds great. I'm so classy.
Well, how is Apple allowed to sell them and then the phone is telling you it's not supported? Either it's supported or it's not. Aren't they paying a license to Apple for the lightning cable?
That was my understanding.
That's my understanding. Yeah. So then is Apple just trying to be like Microsoft-esque and just making stuff not work? It's weird. Yeah, you can't say anything. You're trying to get featured by Apple next month when we launch this goddamn. I take it all back. Apple is flawless. But it has been weird. A lot of people have been complaining about this, about if you go on Amazon reviews of cables and charging stations, Apple is like flipping the switch on a lot of cables and accessories saying they don't work when in fact they do. And then it works one day and it stops. It doesn't work the other day. It's very weird. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Have you noticed that?
No, it is.
I'm like, are you unplugging it from one outlet to another and then it works?
I do feel like there's a little bit of this like, hey, we invented a cable that you could turn upside down or right side up and it sticks in. And so we're going to, we're going to milk that for all it's worth.
And in defense of Apple, it's like, I have an HP computer. It doesn't even recognize its own charger, right? It like, I get an alert every day, like, this is not the charger you bought with the computer. And that has never happened on my work
Welcome to Hewlett-Packard. Yeah. None of this shit works. All right, listen, let's do the launch of the week. The Bing launch of the week. Bing, bing, bing. Here we go. It's the Bing launch of the week. Obviously, a lot of great stuff gets launched every week. And we're going to go through 3 items that were launched this week outside of the Apple announcement, since that was half the show, and talk about those. The first one is a gesture control armband called Mio, or Mayo. Let's see it. Let's watch the video. Whoa. Makes you into a Jedi Knight. That's awesome. Let's go to the next video, which is for MovePack, the world's first backpack electric vehicle. I have no idea what that means. I haven't seen these.
I've seen this one. This is
so I purposely don't see this. I want my immediate reaction here. Okay, this is a dude on a skateboard.
Oh, I've ridden one of these. It's great.
Oh, wait, that dude's at Google. That's a Googler. What is he doing?
It's like a backpack skateboard.
Okay. Let's see it move.
Skateboard, come on, let's go.
Here we go. There it is. Okay, there's a skateboard with a backpack on the end of it. So what, it folds up into the backpack?
That's right.
That's pretty rad. I don't know what Tony Hawk thinks of that. Whoa, he's going pretty fast. Oh, so it's like the boost board. That's like what that remote control in his hand is.
Oh, backpack. Oh.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's pretty rad. So now, but the money shot is, there it is. Boom.
Oh, that's cool.
He puts the backpack over it and he can go for a walk. Skateboarding is not a crime. Okay, very cool. That looks interesting. MovePack, 2 hours of full charge, 9-mile range. And next up is BioVigil. BioVigil is a clean hand sensor for doctors. It's not Provigil to keep your developers up all night to hit deadline.
Remind,
Josh Williams.
record, reassure, report. The BioVigil badge is worn by healthcare workers and reminds them using audible and visual alerts to sanitize their hands every time they enter or exit a patient's room.
Wow.
Before interacting with a patient, the worker sanitizes his or her hands and places a hand over the badge. If sanitizer is detected, the badge will illuminate green, visually reassuring patients, family members, and coworkers that hands are properly cleaned. If sanitizer is not detected, the badge will illuminate red. The hygiene status of every patient room entry and exit is automatically recorded within the badge and reported to a wireless base station. Collected information is captured and made accessible to designated users through web and smartphone applications. BioVigil's simple solution produces compliance results greater than 95%. It works with all types of dispensers and sanitizers, is minimally invasive, and seamlessly tracks hand hygiene compliance 24/7. Healthcare workers...
All right, this is fascinating. All right, there you go. We have 3 different products here. The Myo is gesture control armband, which makes you look like a Jedi Knight and or Minority Report. MovePack is the world's first electric backpack skateboard. And BioVigil is clean hand sensors for doctors. Take me through these 3. Tell me which one, you can walk me through each one. Which one's your number 3, your number 2, and then your number 1? Give me your number 3, everybody. Think it through here. Which one is 3rd place for you? I have mine.
I think the number 3 has to be the backpack skateboard. I think electric skateboards, cool.
Okay.
Cool. Awesome. The backpack functionality, I don't know. I don't think I'm taking a skateboard to carry a lot of things. Like if that's the main problem.
Okay.
The backpacks.
Well, okay. What's your number 3?
I'm with Eric on this one. I think it's it's solving too many things. Like part of the thing, like skateboarding, like has this culture that like I'm gonna kick push and like all of a sudden we've nerded it up a little bit. And,
Yeah, I mean it's a backpack for a skateboard, which all skateboards can be put in a backpack sort of. Or whatever. Yeah. It doesn't really make any. I mean, it's nice, but I don't know why it needs to be combined. I guess it folds into the backpack. I mean, whatever. It's. I'm sure there's somebody who will buy it. So then your number 2. This is where it gets interesting. We'll all agree on the number 3, but the number 2.
Am I up?
Yeah, you're up, Eric. Go ahead. Who's your number 2?
I'm not a doctor, so I personally am less excited about the BioVigil.
Got it.
I mean.
You're 25 years old, and you think you're invincible, don't you, Eric? You can't even imagine getting sick. Whereas Josh and I are 40, and we're dying over here.
Oh, I'm like 35.
You're closer to 40 than 25.
I mean, my question would be how much hospitals are really going to analyze the data,
right?
And patients are going to look for. They're supposed to look to see if the green's actually happening.
Gotcha. So your number 1 then becomes Myo.
Yeah.
And why?
Why Myo?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was just playing with the newest Oculus developer kit, and just that sort of control.
Oh, you were wearing the Oculus?
Yeah, and you have that. That's awesome. Like this is a piece of sort of the wearable puzzle, the communicating sort of more freely, more humanly.
It looked like it was reading your muscles in some way.
Yeah, I want to be able to see the muscles too. They show that in the cartoon, but I don't think that's a feature.
I think that should be like a sleeve. You know when you put the sleeve on, like Dwayne Wade wears the sleeve? If you had a sleeve on that knew every muscle's movements, you could see your whole arm in 3D without a camera.
That'd be awesome.
We could go for a run, and you would know exactly in space where my hand was. Holy cow. What is your 2nd place, and obviously then your 1st?
So I'm going to go, my 2nd place is the Myo.
Okay.
And it was mainly because I think it's cool. But there's a lot of dudes in that video. I didn't see any women wearing
It's a little
Myo.
Misogynistic, right? As tech videos tend to be.
So between like the skateboard backpack and the Myo, it's kind of like this is some nerdy white dude tech right here.
Some white dude tech here, man. This dude's gonna use his skateboard and play Call of Duty at the same time.
That's kind of
he is skateboarding through Grand Theft Auto 7.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I came down on that one. I think it's cool. I think, like I said, with Oculus, it could there's something there. We can Tom Cruise it up and our Minority Report at some point. But like the BioVigil, I mean, I don't know if I want to, as a patient, it'd be disconcerting to see somebody's red light going off. But at the same time, it's hey, I'm all for clean hands in the hospital. It just seems like a good idea.
At the birth of your child. Yeah. And the child's coming out and beep, red. Oh my God. Get over there and clean your hands, doctor. It is a major issue. Compliance.
I bet they sell a metric shit ton of those.
And compliance is such a huge issue. These doctors and nurses, a lot of times they're very busy. They forget once. And this is the thing. The body is very resilient. However, one mistake could have the cost of death. And it happens all the time. Septic, I think it's called septic shock, is when bacteria gets in your bloodstream. And people die from septic shock. Just perfectly healthy 25-year-old, 35-year-old, or 43-year-olds will die if bacteria gets in their blood. It doesn't matter who you are. And the bacteria could very easily be on your hand.
That's right. Got to Purell that.
It's not even Purell. They got to be. But it would be really cool if they had as part of. See, what I think about when I see this one, I have the same order as you, Josh. I would go with the Mayo gesture control armband. Second, I think it's very unique in terms of I've never seen anybody put it on the band like that. And then it saves you from having to have a camera, so you could actually take it with you anywhere you go. And so that's kind of interesting. I didn't think it used a camera. We can have somebody confirm that. So it's really cool. It could just be built into something. Mm-hmm. It could be built into shirts. Like it just be whatever. Anyway, very cool.
Or a watch.
Well, the watch obviously has something in it. So it's really, I think what's going to be the, what do they call that? What's the fait accompli? What's that when you guys were in Harvard? Eric, tell us about what is the fait accompli? Is that how you say it? Take out you the thesaurus, Harvard boy. Let's go. So the fait accompli, right? Like when you like
thought you knew Latin, man.
Come on, man. You know Latin. It's that je ne sais quoi, right? You study ancient Greek. What is that thing I'm thinking of? That je ne sais quoi.
I don't know what you're thinking of. I don't think it's fait accompli, but
what is it like? The end game, like the end game, like where hey, this is it. Pièce de résistance.
That's French.
That's Greek.
Yeah.
That's Italian for the best. All right, here. Anyway, the best piece of this is going to be when you have multiple sensors on and they're all coordinating together to know what your body's doing.
Right.
Like it's one thing with these pedometers in your phone, but if it knows the phone is here and you have a wristband on both and then your sneakers have the sensors in it and your jacket has some sensors in it and you know my shoulder position, my elbow position, my belt has sensors in it, so you know my hip placement. You could actually build a 3D model of the body for the entire day. And then when we're looking at Fitbit data or whatever, your doctor, or chiropractor quackery bullshit, like they'd be able to say, like, listen, you're slouching because we know because you're wearing this shirt that has all the sensors in it.
And your mom can send you push notifications that
stop slacking.
Sit up straight.
Sit up straight.
She just automates
Jason.
It just sends the message as if
Jason, you're slouching. Don't slouch. So anyway, the number one is obviously the technology with the clean hands. But the best part of that is, like, imagine the extensibility of, okay, now they're just like, it's kind of a gimmick in a way, like, oh, we know the hand sanitizer smell is there, good. But what if you took it and they had a sensor with a paper pad on it or something where you came up and you swiped your hand across it. You literally rubbed your fingers across it and it went, like those old style ones that got dirty of the, I'm making that loop with my hands of the paper, the cloth towels that you would like in the old timey movies use. If that then went into a machine and actually looked at what was on your hand on a disease basis, holy cow. And then we see the doctor has... she's got a cut on her hand, and inside the cut there's something, and we realize, oh my God, she has this specific strain of flu on her hands, not just sanitizer that it might have been cleaned because of sanitizer, but we actually see what bacteria is on there. Oh my God, there's fecal matter on this hand. Oh my God, there's this matter on this hand.
We've gone too far. No.
Once fecal matter, that's it. That's the end of the show.
Yeah.
When there's fecal matter, that's the end of the show. Hey, listen, Bing does a great job. What a great search engine. I have it as my default on my phone. Amazing. Great for movie times, by the way. I've been doing all my new... I'm figuring out the movie situation here in San Francisco.
Oh, San Francisco?
Okay. It's an incredible disappointment coming from Los Angeles. This is a huge opportunity. This is a message to the ArcLight. ArcLight. Come to San Francisco and print money.
So the Draft House is coming from Austin.
It is?
Yeah, they're going to open a Draft House in the Mission.
All right, see, I've only been to the Draft House literally in South by Southwest 1999 or 2000. Mm-hmm. We went to the Draft House where it was like a little table in front of you, like a bar thing.
Yep.
Is that how it works?
That's it, yeah. They have a bar.
And they'll bring chicken wings to you. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit high, right?
It is kind of high.
It's a little bit too high for me.
Okay, well.
But anyway, it's a high
But it's like they bring Guinness milkshakes to you while you're watching a movie.
What could be better?
What are you going to complain about?
We have a thing.
Do you know where in the Mission?
On Mission, middle of on Mission Street.
All right, anyway,
sorry.
We gotta have a little San Francisco talk here. And by the way, we're gonna do This Week in Startups live. I forgot to tell everybody about that, but Tim Ferriss is gonna be my guest and it's going to be on September 26th. And you can get tickets if you're part of the TWiST list, TWiSTlist.co. All get to come for free. Actually, $2. We just do $2 so people don't literally scalp the tickets, which they've been doing. So it will sell out. Go to TWiSTlist.co, join the TWiST list, be on the back channel, and you'll get a ticket to see Tim Ferriss. It's going to be amazing. 9/26 here at WeWork. No. Oh, no, it's not at WeWork this time. Where's it going to be? Oh, it's at Pivotal. Yeah, you get the location later. So this is a huge opportunity. We have a thing called Gold Pass.
Okay.
It's Gold Pass or Gold Class? Gold Pass, I think is what it's called, where you have 2 seats that are literally like first-class seats on a plane, and then in between it a table, and then side tables on each side. And there's a little button you press that goes from green to red. And then you can order whatever you want. They come and they just they get down, they whisper, "Oh, Mr. Williams, what can I get you?" And you're like, "I'll have some peanut M&Ms, some popcorn, truffle popcorn, and I'll have 2 Coke Zero, and a glass of Chardonnay." "Okay, yes, Mr. Williams." And they go running back. They come back and your M&Ms are in a martini glass.
Yeah.
And they place it there, and then your drinks, and then cloth napkins, and then you take your jackets off in your backpack, and they have a little area for you, like a nook to put them in. So they're hung and everything, beautiful. Like in a first-class cabin, and it's $20 a seat, I think.
Yeah.
So it's $15 to go to this kabuki theater, which is really run down. Could be better.
Harsh.
Whatever. I'm coming from LA. There's a standard.
I have to defend my place.
And I have to say, listen, I know it's the best one here, but it's the worst one in LA. And it's $15. I paid $18 to see Guardians of the Galaxy.
No, you buy a movie ticket in San Francisco, and you're like, well, did I buy the IMAX tickets? No, actually,
$18, and it was Guardians was a pretty good movie though. But anyways, I'm going to give you my San Francisco tips here. Number 1, there's a huge opportunity for that. And then number 2, Clement Street in Inner Richmond. Have you been to Clement Street? You're going to come by. Clement Street is this street that goes out there, and I went to Baker Beach and China Beach. Amazing.
Yeah. Have you been to Tommy's?
No, what's Tommy's?
Tommy's Mexican?
No.
Best tequila bar in
really?
Anywhere?
Well, it's Friday, so let's do it.
Richmond.
But anyway, Clement Street is all these Chinese food restaurants.
Yeah.
And it's it reminds me of Brooklyn. It's sort of like the Brooklyn of San Francisco. It's west of Presidio and west of everything. And it's amazing. The food over there is fantastic. I had a great experience. But now, if you go to Chestnut Street in the Marina, it's a bunch of dudes, and they're all yelling.
Gross, man.
And I'm I'm with my daughter. Can you fucking stop yelling and screaming? I mean, what is it? I feel like I'm in a...
I love that you're adapting to San Francisco.
I almost punched a guy in the face because I'm walking with my 4.5-year-old, and he is yelling at the top of his lungs obscenities. And I'm like, listen, I'm a loud guy, but I'm just like, can you please stop saying the F word over and over again, yelling it in the middle of the street? And then I'm walking down here on Turk Street. That's the other thing.
No, you don't walk on Turk Street.
Whatever. Actually, I was driving in my car, and literally a person gets down in the middle of the road and goes to the bathroom.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't complain on church. Church is nice. Church is pretty nice.
This is Turk Street. But I was just like... I've heard the stories of people in San Francisco going to the bathroom on the sidewalk, but literally in the middle of the street, you're going to be hit by a car. And then I realized, oh my God, this person is so high on meth. There is a crystal meth trade going on here on Turk Street that is a couple blocks from where I am right now. That is unbelievably being done in the open. And people are so high on crystal meth because it's a very specific high. I mean, it's not weed. We've all smoked weed here, yes? Eric? Look at poor Eric's like, I got a job. We all smoked weed before the show. And everybody smoked weed before, whatever. But to be dealing methamphetamine on the street openly, and then there are 100 people on methamphetamine on the street. Listen, I'm an investor in Hand Up. I care very deeply. I hope everybody gets help. But you cannot allow people to be doing crystal meth on the street and be high on the street. It's a really seriously dangerous situation if there's 100 people on meth.
Yeah, it's rough.
It's deadly serious.
Rough. It's rough around here. I moved into the neighborhood a year ago, and you every day you're kind of presented with man, I want to do something. I wish I could help, but where do you even start? You know?
I have to say, like, we're starting from the bottom up with Hand Up, which is like trying to help people, like, sort of transition out of homelessness and working. But I have to say, and I don't mean to get all Rudy Giuliani on people, but I'm from New York. There was a standard at which if you crossed a certain line, you were going to be put in jail, at least to sober up and protect the people of the city who are not high in paying taxes. And I just, this is a message.
He was busting people around. There
were all kinds of, yes. I'm not saying it's a role model, but certainly if somebody is high on methamphetamine, they cannot be allowed to roam the street. If a police officer finds somebody on methamphetamine that high, defecating in the middle of the street, they have to be put into the tank, which is what we, the sort of get sober tank, in order to protect innocent people from being hurt. I'm not talking about somebody being drunk or smoking weed. I'm talking about being high on methamphetamine. Go ahead, Eric. You have something to say. Let's hear it.
Sure. They should stop people from being in the street. That's bad. That's dangerous for the person. I agree.
For their own safety.
But, I mean, the drug problem should be addressed as sort of they're addicted to meth. That's bad.
Yes.
San Francisco should have an approach to that.
If you are recently moved to San Francisco and you have not read Season of the Witch, this is a must-read that explains a lot of why.
Explain. Catch me out.
Summarize the whole book.
Just summarize what your point is here.
Season of the Witch is basically, there was the Summer of Love. We're all familiar with the Summer of Love. Season of the Witch is what happened after. It's the hangover. And there was a lot of laws and things that were put into place coming, in the late 60s that have never been changed. So, like, for example, my daughter always asks, well, hey, can we go camping in Golden Gate Park too with all the other campers? We have to explain, well, no, we can't really go camping with the rest of the campers. But the reason why is that people can still camp there due to laws that are 40 years old now, effectively, that allow them to live in parts of Golden Gate Park. And that was when there wasn't enough housing during when everyone came to San Francisco for the Summer of Love. And a lot of that has never been revisited, and it has long-standing impact.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I only bring it up on the show because a lot of people have been asking me about the transition. I've lived in two of the greatest cities in the world, New York City, the greatest city in the world, Los Angeles, probably in the top 10. Probably, 5 to 10. I would say Paris, London, Hong Kong, Shanghai, and other cities are better, but just based on, and Barcelona, but based on places I've been. So I've been privileged enough to live in two of the top 10 cities of the world, the number 1 and the number 7, let's say. And this is probably arguably in the top 10 as well in the world. And I have to say, like, it's never going to be the city we all want it to be unless we have some level of law enforcement that protects citizens from this level of outrageous behavior. And there's a permissiveness here that is not healthy. I am absolutely fine with people getting naked for their walk, which is also something that's insane and only exists in this part of the world. But I know when that walk is going to occur, I can keep my child away from, 1,000 penises walking down the street with, whatever, if I choose to. So I'm okay with that. But I have to tell you, we have to draw the line, Mayor Ed Lee and whoever is running this goddamn city, at people who are dangerously high on methamphetamine. I smoke weed in every cafe in San Francisco, mazel tov. Take mushrooms, I don't care. Whatever, get drunk. But methamphetamine makes a person violent and insane, and it's going on. There are methamphetamine deals going on up and down the block here in public, and there are cops parked right there. The cops are allowing it to occur. Did you notice it, Josh?
Oh, no, I've been here for years.
The cops are not stopping methamphetamine transactions, and they see them.
What? I mean, I think one thing that's interesting about this debate, and I don't want to summarize your views, but...
No, summarize it.
In so many other areas, tech is government, leave us alone. Let us do what we want to do.
Disruptive.
But when it comes to San Francisco, it's like, oh, why isn't the city cracking down on all these people who make me feel uncomfortable when I'm walking around the street?
Right.
So, I mean, obviously, the more we can sort of come up with sort of industry-driven solutions, I think that would be sort of a good thing to focus on.
Oh, well, Eric, what a great suggestion you have there. Welcome to the program. So what you're saying is I should invest in a startup that handcuffs and puts crystal methamphetamine people in a tank.
Eric, drug rehab program.
You had such an amazing education in Harvard that you have this incredible insight that absolutely routing around.
Only the force of law is going to. That's the only tool we have to solve this problem.
So your genius solution after your 4 years at Harvard is that investors should invest in companies that lock up people on crystal meth?
Is
that what you're saying?
No, that is flatly not what
So then how can I mean, it's one thing to say we're going to have crowd sharing, but I can't crowdfund or bend the laws of ride sharing or Airbnb. There's a big line between Airbnb renting out your house and breaking that law and me making a citizen's arrest. Trust me, if I could invest in a company and it would do citizen arrest of people on crystal meth and dealing, I would invest in it. For the love of God, where is that on Angel?
There are efforts right now in San Francisco.
What's your program now? Like your bounty on startups?
There are transportable.
And by the way, I'm just giving Eric a hard
time.
No,
it's fine. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go.
I love this kid.
There are transportable
bathrooms.
Jeremy Lin moment. There are transportable bathrooms in San Francisco. They studied where in the Tenderloin
outside.
Do people right exactly where in the Tenderloin where people going to the bathroom in the street the most. Your problem. And there are projects to do that right now. Like back those.
I'll fund it.
Okay.
Somebody come to me with. Here's the three businesses. Eric, you were a very astute point here. I love it. Welcome to the league, Eric. By the way, Jeremy Lin, welcome to the league.
Thank you. It's been
Carmelo
fun.
Anthony, LeBron James, welcome to the league. Okay, you're in the big leagues now. Welcome on the court. Here's the thing. I love your idea though of I invested in HandUp. I will invest in a company that provides showers and bathrooms. Find me that company that allows $1 shower and a $1 bathroom, because it's a French company that made all those bathrooms.
Right.
Where I see people doing drug deals in the bathrooms and having sex and doing prostitution.
That is definitely one of the problems.
It's definitely one of the problems. I thought 3 people come in and out of it, and like one of them was definitely a prostitute. It was really disturbing. Those solutions I do agree with. And in fact, somebody Google just supported a bus that has 2 showers in it, I saw. And so everybody gives Google a hard time. I have to say, Google is actually listening.
Yeah.
They supported a bus, I retweeted it, that has showers on it. And they park it, and anybody who wants to come in there and get cleaned up can take a shower. Now, here's an interesting thing. So we're going to go towards the libertarian thing. Could you actually have a service that in some way helped with a situation that was a violent or a security situation? Now, this is a very uncomfortable topic, but you live in an area that maybe you don't feel safe.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, I walk here to work, and if it's after hours, I tend to make sure the Uber's at the door before I leave. Mm-hmm. You're just aware. It's just it's like I'm freaked out. I'm just aware.
Right. But it's a level of. Listen, I grew up in Brooklyn. I mean, I've walked through Fort Greene, Bed-Stuy, other places when it was like a legitimately scary place. Nowhere near as scary as what I see here.
No, I
Only
agree.
because here with the police, they're allowing it to happen. Lave May, by the way, are the awesome people. LAVAMAE are the awesome people. Hats off to them. And I want to meet them and get them on the program at some point and make a donation as well to what they're doing with this sort of helping people. But would a privatized security solution be something? Eric, you're looking at me like you're about to start laughing.
I have to formulate a view.
Okay, so here, I'll do it in my head. If enough people lived on a block, if they all chipped in for a security guard and a system of cameras that would record the drug transactions taking place, edit them, and post them to Twitter or whatever, or give them to the police privately, whatever it is. I mean, I don't know if I want people who are doing drug transactions to be publicly shamed or whatever. But if they were able to deliver those to the police, would you be opposed to something like that? What would you think about that? Think out loud here.
If you're allowed to post the camera, yeah, I think I sound like I'm against arresting drug dealers. Certainly, I think San Francisco police should address drug dealers. But I think right, this is the right way of thinking. It's like, okay, what can we do? What sort of structures can we create? How can we sort of?
What do you think of my security in a box? Pop-up security for your block. You think that's something that would be socially elitist?
I wouldn't think I don't think security is the number one problem, but I think
you think it's the drug abuse and getting them care. We all agree that's a core use, but it's obviously not being addressed.
Yeah.
So
I'm not opposed to your security solution.
Really interesting. What do you think about that, Josh? If there was security in a box and 10 neighbors got together on a block to pay for security between these hours because there was a known problem and we're taking video of drug deals going on, Would you think that that's a net positive for society or a good idea for a business? Should business be doing that kind of stuff? It's a really interesting conversation here, broken out.
I think if you just took it back to whether or not there was a business behind it, of just saying like if neighbors wanted to get together and do something about trying to raise the attention level of things going on that they find, detrimental to the neighborhood. I think that in and of itself, that premise is great. And so if you're saying there's enough of that could occur, that you could build easier ways to effectively let's look at Nextdoor.
Right.
And if you look at Nextdoor right now, I guarantee 90% of the posts that I see on Nextdoor, at least in my neighborhood, are either missing cats or it's crime. And
they're cooperating with the police
and they
more sort of information out from.
So right now sadly what the Nextdoor stuff is it's too much after the fact. It's hey, I just got mugged and I thought
not enough prevention.
I wanted to let people know to watch out for such and such a street corner.
Yeah.
You want to get in front of that, and I think that in that regard, it's a good thing.
Yeah, if you had because I had this happening in Los Angeles where people were speeding at a rate of speed on Sunset Boulevard that was not reasonable. Like we're talking about a 35-mile-per-hour road where people were going 90 miles an hour in Lamborghinis and Ferraris on Friday nights, and it's like a really serious security thing. I mean, it's one thing to go 20 miles over the speed limit, on an empty highway, and you're not drinking, but it's another thing to take your Ferrari out and use it like it's a racetrack. And I just thought to myself, wow, if there was a service where I could actually put up a speed reader and I could just pay, whatever it is, $500 for the month to put it out there to slow people down, I would do it actually for a couple of months to try to make my neighbors, or I would chip in with 10 people for it. I bet you if you got 10 businesses around this area to chip in for a van with mobile cameras on it and park it there and record the people dealing drugs, and it's set on the side of the van, you are being recorded.
Yeah.
The drug dealers would go away because it says you are being recorded. And
I'd like to believe that at least, yeah.
You would think. And then if you submitted all those videotapes to the police, would they have no choice but to respond?
I'd assume.
Would assume. Why hasn't somebody done that? It's such a simple solution, so elegant.
I mean, neighborhoods have always sort of called the police on drug dealers. Like, this guy's clearly selling drugs. You just call him up. The security, camera.
The crazy thing that happened.
But there's something going on in this specific area where there are cops out there ignoring it. I don't understand. I'm very frustrated.
There's a situation that happened recently, and there was an altercation that definitely required, intervention. And the business owner who needed the intervention did not call the police because he knew the police would not respond. And instead, he's like, well, I'm going to have to call the community advisor, I believe was the term. It was basically like a representative who's going to come and just basically kind of like try to diffuse the situation.
Wow. Bizarre.
Yeah, it was. And this was not a situation that needed a community advisor. This is somebody that you needed to put the flame out. So it just seems there's a little bit of a hands-off mentality here.
If they put cameras, this is what I would encourage people to do, is put cameras there, train them in on the drug deals, and then just submit the tapes to the police and the San Francisco Chronicle at the same time. We're curbed. And just say, listen, we're giving them to you first. If it stops within a week and you police it, if we don't see people there for the next 10 days, we won't give it to the San Francisco Chronicle. If you do, in day 10, it's going to the Chronicle. Or whatever.
I fully expect you to drop cam our blog.
I'm too busy for this. I'm too busy. It's a very interesting discussion.
It shifts crime around a little bit, right? I mean, that would be one objection, that it's just like, if they arrest those drug dealers, then that would minimize crime. But if it's just sort of big van, we're recording everything, and you're just moving it.
Man, I thought we were just going to talk about iPhone today. This is good.
So let me ask you this. If we have drop cam for crystal methamphetamine or iPhone 6 Plus, which is a bigger launch of the week? Eric Newcomer? Eric Newcomer of The Information. Which do you prefer? You prefer Lyft for methamphetamine tanking of people who are violently high on methamphetamine? It's just a very interesting discussion. I know it's a controversial discussion. I appreciate your opinion on it, actually, Eric. I think it's very brave of you to talk about it as well. Because listen, I'm here now. And since I'm here, we're going to have the discussion. All right. We'll let everybody know Jason Calacanis is now in San Francisco. So every discussion that you've all been having for the last 10 years has never occurred. And in my narcissistic, insane mind, we have to have this whole conversation again.
I enjoyed it. It's great.
But at this time, I would like something to occur as a result of it. Now that I'm seeing it firsthand.
You're investing in companies.
I know, but I mean, it feels like people are afraid to discuss this issue.
Definitely. Yeah.
There's a definite fear of discussing the issue. And I think everybody is actually on exactly the same page. Get people help.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously we don't want any police brutality. And if we're all very pro, drug decriminalization, I'm sure.
Yep.
We're three intelligent people here. Any intelligent person is pro decriminalization of, non-damaging drugs. Like maybe some of us might even be okay with all drugs, but, after heroin and meth, it's like, go for it, But those specific drugs that result in violent behavior, that results in people being murdered or killed, and we have to do something. It's not reasonable for people to be out in the middle of the day on the street on methamphetamine and buying it in front of cops.
It's just not it's just bad all around. Bad. Bad for the neighborhood, bad precedent.
That's a key issue, the precedent.
Yeah.
I think that was one thing that Giuliani, and it's a very scary word to say Giuliani here. It's like I'm not endorsing everything Giuliani did. But there was it became clear to people after a certain period of time, I lived it, between, Mayor Koch and Dinkins, and then when Giuliani came in, that there was some things that were just not cool anymore. You didn't get to tag up on the subway. You didn't get to hop the turnstile,
It's broken window policing is what you're describing.
Right.
I just don't think it's a very San Francisco thing.
It's clearly not a San Francisco thing in any way.
And I think that's good. And I think it's good. I'm not couching it just, we don't believe that here in San Francisco.
You think it's good?
I think we should focus on health and that's the right posture to start with. And then...
Aren't they doing that for like $100 million a year?
Not well enough, clearly, right?
Yeah. There's an execution issue perhaps.
Definitely.
Because somebody told me, there's a study, actually Rose showed me, and there's $100 million spent on this. On the homeless issue, and 7,000 homeless people. They've been tracking it pretty statistically for decades. It's an incredible study. But they're obviously not deploying. I think it's not being deployed properly, and I do think that on the when you allow certain behaviors, you get everybody falls off a cliff. And I think it's like the dealing of hard drugs on the street is the issue. When you hit hard drug level, all bets are off, because people who are on those kind of drugs, they are not even thinking straight. People who are drunk or high on weed, like there's a certain like reasonableness they'll come to. But when you're on methamphetamine or whatever, PCP, it's like there's a whole category of drugs where the person is not human anymore. They're out of their skulls. They don't know what they're doing.
I agree. I just don't see
but you think we should just send everybody...
I live in East Mission. I do not... I feel like I live in the neighborhood you're describing, not sort of the worst, but
right.
I just don't
Are there 50 people on the street there? Are there 50 people on the street high on meth on your block or no?
No.
Okay, walk around the corner here.
Yeah.
Walk around the corner in the Tenderloin.
Right.
It's one thing to have like one or two homeless people on the block. Like we dealt with that in New York as well, and they slowly built enough beds up, actually, because we had a problem in New York where people were freezing to death on the street, and it was inhumane, like to allow people to drink themselves to sleep and then freeze to death. We had people freezing to death in New York. It was so sad. Every day on the news you would have, nightly news, like a homeless person was found dead on, 57th Street, frozen to death, and people were walking by them for a day until somebody finally realized, are you okay? And they were frozen to death. Like literally their bodies were frozen. It's crazy. Anyway. Thanks to Josh Williams, last guy, for joining us on the program. Thanks to Jacob and Jackie for joining us, and as well as Eric Newcomer of The Information. The Information is a great publication, which I subscribe to and highly recommend you do too. Quality journalism is happening in the world. It's just getting drowned out by all the horrible, terrible journalism being done at TechCrunch and other places that do not even call up subjects to ask them any questions. They just print that Google bought something for $600 million when they didn't. Eric, when you write a story about Google buying something for $600 million, do you think to call Google and confirm it or ask them for a comment?
We reach out to every company we mention in this.
Really?
Yeah, that is.
You do?
Yeah, no, that's a Jessica hard and fast rule that you should reach out to all the companies.
You do have to, right?
Yeah.
So, no, that wasn't like a Harvard thing? You actually just learned that from Jessica?
I've learned a lot from
Okay, because I thought that was like one of those crazy elite Harvard techniques. That's why the TechCrunch didn't do it.
I made a big mistake by mentioning the Harvard thing today. Terrible.
Oh, it's so great.
Error.
It just gives me great fodder. It's like, ooh, here we go. No, it is interesting. Like, how embarrassing is it? Like, that for our industry, this is like the publication of record, and they don't even call. I have to say, like, you guys did a great piece on Y Combinator. I was just recently quoted.
Thank you.
It was very well done. And even in that piece, Sam Altman then went to town on the Rap Genius and annotated it. What did you guys think internally about the annotation? Was he fair or unfair? Because you did talk to him?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I talked to him at length. He'd sort of...
Oh, was that your piece?
Oh, yeah. It's my piece.
Oh, so I was the person who responded to you. I didn't realize he was going to talk on the phone.
That was me.
Okay. So what did you think? Because he kind of took you to task a little bit. Where was he correct and where was he incorrect?
My main objection... I mean, so there was no correction on the piece. There was no request for correction. Okay. There was no really
So there's no facts wrong.
Right.
But he felt maybe you insinuated things. So what was his main complaint?
I mean...
And was it fair?
Like, I think he doesn't think that... And now he's going to clarify my point on this. But, how much is Y Combinator competing directly with venture capital, right?
Right.
And I think a fair argument is that good venture capital isn't threatened by Y Combinator because they're giving advice and they have value and it's not just a closed network.
Right.
But I think that sort of good gives you a lot of leeway there.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, the story basically argues that Y Combinator opened the door for crowdfunding, angel investors, and maybe one day Y Combinator itself to sort of eat away at, VCs who are just depending on deal flow and sort of their exclusive networks. And I think it's the idea that YC would do that one day. I mean, Sam's been very clear that they don't want to do A rounds right now.
Yeah.
And he says that they don't want to do A rounds. I think period would be fair. Yeah. And that's what VCs are worried about, right? They don't want
that they could fund them enough to get them
just like all the way. We're the signal, and then it's
that's interesting. I think for them it's better to do 200 companies a year at $100K each than to try to build a Y Combinator venture fund to cherry pick. Because once they start cherry picking, they would then kill any involvement in the other ones, which is what I was sort of saying. It's like, I would love to invest in 4 of the companies that were there on demo day.
Right.
All 4 of them had valuations $7 to $12 million.
Right.
And I don't know what I invested in your company. I don't want you to say it on here, but I get the sense that it wasn't higher than that. And it might have in fact been lower because I was the first investor. I can invest in Josh Williams. Josh fucking Williams. And at less than a Y Combinator valuation. I mean, I happen to know you. I happen to get in early. I happen to provide value. But I just thought like these valuations are 3x, 4x what they have achieved.
Well, Sam discourages the high valuations, right? Because there's a risk there. They want to keep them reasonable.
Yeah.
And like YC's been very good about they don't have their partners invest for a good amount of time now, sort of after they're done to avoid the negative signaling. So I think you're right. It's much more likely they sort of grow into like the 1,000 company sort of incubator or accelerator, and then maybe they have pro rata rights, or maybe they buy in sort of.
They don't have pro rata rights now with their 6%?
Not right now.
Oh, that's crazy.
I don't know if they have. They're not doing it. I'm not going to say that. I don't know if they have rights.
They would be well within their right to have pro rata. I would actually be fine with them having pro rata rights. But Josh, to answer your question, there were people, or your implied question, there are people, one person told me they went to Y Combinator specifically to increase their valuation.
Interesting.
And I said to them, that's not a good reason to go to Y Combinator. Because if you are going there to increase your valuation, that tells me you're focused on exactly the wrong things. Yep. And they're like, well, they start backtracking, and I'm not going to say the name of the company, whatever. It's a young entrepreneur. I said, listen, valuation is not important. Your company's surviving and connecting with a group of users who love it, and the product is all that matters. Your valuation, it's going to go up, it's going to go down, whatever. It's inconsequential. What matters is your company a viable concern?
Yeah.
It's a level of obsession, like really. So one person said this to me, and I said they had a $12 million valuation. And I said, is that realistic? And they're like, well, it's a Y Combinator premium. And I said, let me tell you a story. My 2 biggest successes as an angel investor are Uber and Thumbtack. One is up hundreds and one's up thousands of return.
Yeah.
Your valuation is 30% better than both of their valuations put together when I invested.
Right.
So what you're saying is you're 3 times Uber, and Uber is much further along than you are, and 3 times Thumbtack, and they were much further along than you are. And by the way, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, you're no Travis or Marco.
Right.
So, or, Josh Williams. Like, you have to really kind of understand where you're at in your career. Like, I mean, if it's Kevin Rose or Josh Williams or whoever, like, there's a certain premium that you can give to somebody who's built Gowalla or Dig that you just can't give to somebody who's a first-time entrepreneur because they've never seen and they don't have the battle scars. Josh got your back of battle scars there, man. You got scars all over your body.
I mean, these founders want a signal. They want to be able to hire. They want the employees to know that they're like the next big thing.
I don't think valuation has anything to do with like employee hiring. I mean, there's a lot more to it.
How did you pick your investors? Let me ask that. Like, and how do you optimize for that now today? Because you've now.
I would say you might laugh at this. I mean, like my number one rule has always been no assholes. So like that's
great rule. How did I get in?
I know that's what I was like.
That's what Eric's asking himself right now. Wait a second. This is the guy who just told me I was a genius. Oh.
Right. I think that's always been like the number one rule. And then after that, it's truly like. I like to bias towards people who have been operators before. There's some of that. Now at this stage, at Gowalla, I had a lot of very product-heavy investors, like really, really smart product people. Yeah. Probably too many when it was all said and done.
Too much advice.
Too many cooks in the kitchen. They're all like really great cooks, but it's just like too many.
Yeah, it's like, by the way, you cook Chinese. This is a Japanese restaurant.
That's right.
Your Peking duck is amazing. It's not going on the menu.
That's correct. And so I've spread it out a little bit more this time, and I've biased toward. I have people that I have around just because. They know they have specific domain knowledge, and I'm smart. A little bit.
See, I agree with you 100%, Josh. If you find the right collection of people, it's like putting together the Avengers. Yeah. You need complementary skill sets in your guild. You can't have all healers or all wizards. Now I'm talking your language, Eric. And Eric's like, what about mages? Technically, I think you mean a paladin, Jason.
This should be like a League of Legends metaphor. That would be.
It'd be a little bit better, right? Yeah, you need to have the guy who can grot. We are Grot. I am Grot. You see League of Legends?
I have not yet. No.
I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy?
No.
Oh, God. I'll go see it with you if you want. If the kids fall asleep.
It's fun.
It's so good. I mean, it's like literally here's the thing with Marvel that's just unbelievable. Like, this is why Disney is so genius for buying Marvel. They took an obscure thing that nobody knew that's completely ridiculous in terms of raccoons and trees as characters. And they built the Summers blockbuster based on the actual imprint Marvel. Mm-hmm. It's a Marvel film, and it has 5 tie-ins to the arc story of the Avengers. Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable what they've done.
Star Wars is going to be amazing. Like,
I can't wait for Star Wars.
Like 5 years from now, like all the
Boba Fett movie.
It's just going to go everywhere.
I just can't wait for the Boba Fett movie. The Boba Fett movie, Han Solo movie. Yeah. Are going to be extraordinary events. All right, listen, this has been one of our old school 90-minute shows, and the reason it has is because we had 2 amazing guests. Thank you, Josh Williams, incredible, tremendous entrepreneur, and we really look forward to seeing The Last Guide when it comes out. When do you anticipate launching?
I can't say that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, October 23rd and 24th is the launch scale event. Oh, really? You always have my stage.
Oh, that's
so if
good
you want
to
show it there for the first time, there'll be tons of press there. And Eric, you'll be my guest at the launch scale event if you can make it October 23rd and 24th. And the Launch Festival has 2,000 people signed up in the first 3 days, which is basically the size of Disrupt. It will be 12,000 people this year. They were 3,000 maybe. Not that it's a competition, especially not since we're crushing them so handily. You like that? People like when I'm a little
very
bit.
Nice.
People like when I'm a little, it's like there's not even a competition going on anymore, but I'm still needling them. Of course. Anyway, what an amazing episode. Everybody follow at JW and Eric Newcomer, and he is at theinformation.com. Once again, Jackie and Jacob, you guys have leveled the shows up from where Gina and Brandis did an amazing job. You are building on their great success, and the show is doing amazing. We'll see you all next time in This Week in Startups. Bye-bye.